So that's absolutely forbidden. Kissing hands, you know, being subservient to another person for the reason of authority, power, and money, acceptable. So a lot of these laws that they were in Islam, sometimes, you know, people, they think that in the Baha'i faith there was Bab, and his book is Bayan, which is a different book, came only for 19 years, a transitional period, in which Bab orders that to burn all the books except his books. He says these books are in the way. That doesn't let people. And there are these kind of things in Islam as well. These are not revealed by God. It's only a self-destruct mechanism. Bob says this so no one can follow his religion. He doesn't want to be followed. Why? Because he's a persona of God. He's coming back in the form of Baha'u'llah. He doesn't want his previous word stops him from his future words. Muhammad says men and women are not equal. Well, it was for the protection of the women at the time, but as well it has an underlying fact that Islam then cannot be followed. Many rules are in Islam are specific that it cannot be followed. So Islam is automatically destroyed. People cannot stick to it, stick to the book. God's plan is this. He wants that to happen, so people cannot go on and do this. So, now there are other recommendations, rules in the Baha'i faith, laws, that is to create new habits, better habits, you know. You haven't heard in any religion to say that don't be cruel to animals, but in the Baha'i faith it says animal cruelty is really bad. Because at the time when we are doing cruelty to animal, which is a living being, then we can use to that to others. I've said that. People have a dog at home, they grow up with dog, they grow up with cat. And the dog, being a dog, you know, listens to the man. This man has learned to order now. He thinks his wife is another dog, has to listen to him. So it's not very good to grow up with animals, because animals are inherently subservient to man. Man does not learn to be human when he's associating only with animals, to a certain extent. Another thing, Baha'u'llah said, do not carry arm. How many people are suffering because of that? What kind of a habit is that people in the West, they have? It is impossible by the statistics that those who carried a gun, they've been safer than others. An accident can happen out of this. Plus, you intimidate others, the feeling of intimidations over others. In Persian, people, they go to public bath. Oh my God, how dirty and filthy it is when so many people go inside the same pool, hot water pool, and wash themselves, and it's not changed. The water is still there sometimes a week. They don't do it now anymore, but they used to. Baha'u'llah says, put it aside, do not do that. New, things to make a habit for ourselves. Do not enter somebody's house without permission. Baha'u'llah says it's forbidden. Knock the door. It's very ordinary for you in the West to do it, but in the East they just barge in the room, barge in the door. Baha'u'llah says no, order, knock the door. Respect another person. In India, people put their hand right into the food, eating with hand. Baha'u'llah says definitely there's a lot of harm in that, and it's the bad habit. Put it aside. Here's another one that again I've seen in the Middle East. A lot of people, not in the West, I've seen it. They just go walk in the streets and they read the holy verses of Quran. And these are really holy verses. When you hear it, you have to subjugate yourself in a mood. But they just keep doing it like a singing. And I've seen a lot of that. Baha'u'llah says no, it's like not acceptable. There are many things. One of them is homosexuality. Not acceptable in the Baha'i faith. It's a bad habit. I've explained that before. It is absolutely a habit because you're inserting something in your body that you are not supposed to. Just like a smoke that goes into your mouth. Body rejects it, but then you force it. Then goes into the brain, order the brain that you need a smoke because it installs something. Same as the homosexuality. If you do that, then you get used to it. Many of these homosexuals of our time just simply got used to do something, just like gambling. In the past, there was no casino, there was no gambling, was not a problem. It is right now. Same as the homosexuality and their so-called freedom. And I will talk later on what that freedom means really. You know, today I'm free to do whatever I want, including put everybody down, and I go over the top of all of them, be as cruel as I want to be. There's no stoppage. The laws are trying to protect some weak ones, but this is the meaning of the freedom today. So homosexuality is not acceptable because a child, a human being has to continue, and that cannot unless it comes through a man and woman. And even if it comes a time that we don't need a womb anymore, we can just do it in some kind of a, test tubes or something, clone it even. Still, a man needs the love of a man and a woman, testosterone and estrogens. They both have certain emanations of love towards a child in order for him to become complete. If it is not, this child will be distinguished from other children in the school to say both of my parents are male or female. This causes embarrassment and suffering, especially at the early age of 15 and 16 when people are not developed which way they want to go. They're forced to be living with homosexuals. It is unfair to those who do not. One of the problems in the West is that there is no right for the unborn. The child doesn't want to be born to have AIDS or fetal syndrome or, alcohol syndrome and all that. Doesn't want to. Later on, he always suffers. He says, I was born out of the parents with AIDS or who had this kind of a disease and sickness. So a homosexual family causes that. So the impact of it is really, really bad, forbidden, because it has an abnormal impact. So it's a bad habit. And so on and so forth. You can read, I guess, the Kitab Aqdas, great classifications of Shoghi Effendi on the synopsis. It gives you the list of the abrogations of the laws of the past, the new ordinances, and so on and so forth. So mankind right now is having huge problem with this matter of religious habits today, at this time that I'm speaking to you. Because under those forms and formats, under those garments, under those traditions, under those costumes and customs, they hide to stick themselves to the old values and making others to suffer. An empty vessel. There is no reaction can take place by praying Islamic prayer or congregational prayer. It's not even a catalyst, nothing. It is sending a 30 years old man in a school to read ABCD. How stupid that is. He's a doctor in many, many fields. Socially, he's so many places. Religiously, he has to go read ABCD. Because religions of the past, they're not coming along with the new societies that we have. Our everything has changed, and you want to keep the old religions at home. You live 2,000 years ago and you come into society, you live in 20th century. You have a big problem in your system when you have that. Or get rid of the religion to be no religion, it's a problem of its own. So enough said for the religious habits and the reasons behind it and how they become habits. At one point they were fruitful reactions. They were not as spiritual at any point of time. Prayer doesn't make anybody a spiritual, but it is a catalyst that can make the reaction, a spiritual reaction, to take place, and can hold their spiritual values within a vessel. And some of it is simply to get rid of the old and bad habits. These are the reasons I mentioned a few of them for you. Time is close to 11 o'clock right now, and I conclude this. May God be with you. See you.